Yeah, Pop Girlies. Yeah.
Yeah,
Hi.
Yeah.
That was me being
yeah.
Ariana. Yeah.
What's
Yeah.
up?
Hi, Pop Girlies Nation. How are we?
Doing good.
We're eternally bright. Brighter days
And
are ahead.
that's
The
so
sun
true.
is shining.
Uh we have been getting because Maria has been making us viral on YouTube. We've been getting, 1,000 million hundred followers just every second. And so we thought it would be a good idea before we get eternally sunshined that we kind of reintroduce ourselves. So I'm Levi. Um, I'm the Swifty captain of Pop Girlies Nation. I'm the secretary of Swift of Pop
Ooh.
Girlies Nation.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's good. Good.
I'm Drew. I'm the correspondent of the dying breed of Katy cats.
The endangered species.
Yeah.
You're
Oh
in the
my
EPA.
God.
Yeah.
Oh,
And I'm Maria, and I am the mistress of the little monsters.
Mistress of Mayhem.
Mistress of
Right, right.
Mayhem.
Madam Mistress of Mayhem.
Madam, yes, exactly.
Miss Madam.
Well, I'm so ready to be eternally
Oh, you are.
sunshined. Well, yeah. I mean, I'm always ready to be anything. Last week I was ready to be graceful. I was so
Yep.
blue before. I was mayhemed out. I was in the rainbows. I'm always there and I'm always down.
Okay.
That's
Work.
the way I live. Uh,
Work.
Work.
but before we do that, I think it's time to share what we've been listening to. So I think it's time to do hot tracks.
Yes. Who wants to go first? Or I
Drew,
can go first.
Drew
Okay.
has to go
Yes, Drew
first.
goes first.
Um, I was having a really hard time picking this one. For this week, I've been listening to a lot of just like random stuff. But I feel like every week for since I've listened to this artist, I've thought about choosing a song by her and I just never have. So today I just made up my mind and I was like, I'm gonna choose a song. So yeah, my hot track of this week is by an artist named Rose Gray, who we've all listened to.
Ooh,
Okay.
Yeah,
yes.
her kind of debut album called Louder Please. I think it's her debut.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a breakthrough. Um, it came out earlier this year and I was really obsessed with it. But my favorite song on it that I've kind of stuck with is a song called Party People. So yeah, I'm gonna choose that this week. Yeah,
Yay,
I
I'm
would love
happy
to
that
do
you
this
chose her.
album. Yeah, I would love to do this album, but I feel like it needs like almost it was kind of surging when we listened to it, and then it kind of like needs a resurgence, maybe like in the
Well,
summer or something.
it's also like a very
Yeah.
summery album, I feel.
Yeah,
Like I don't really think it makes sense to be talking about it while it's still maybe like 40 degrees.
yeah,
You know?
The
yeah.
cover is really cool too.
Love the cover. And the
Oh,
album's
I
just
mean
so
it's so
good too.
summer. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the whole thing sounds summer to me. Like
Yeah.
it sounds like summer. It just does.
It's just summer.
It's just summer. Cool. That's your hot track?
Yeah.
Play. Levi, do you want to go next?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Levi?
I'll go next. Me? Well, like I said, it's kind of been in this like zone of like high 40s, 50s, low 60s the last few days, and it's been kind of rainy, and the clouds have been gloomy and gray and overcast. So where do I find myself? But well, first I'm in Twilight. I'm in Forks, Washington, and then I go a little bit off the beaten path, and then I'm in the forest. I'm in the forest of folklore, and I'm on the cabin porch step and I have fireflies all around. Betty
Not to
is
be confused though with the porch that Gaga was smoking cigarettes on for
different
Chromatica.
porch, different porch. Her porch
We
was
need to make
more
that clear.
Yeah.
Californian. This is a wooden porch,
The deck. A
forested.
deck, if you will.
It's a no. Hers is a deck. Mine is a porch. Mine is a porch, log cabin, porch,
Well,
Lincoln Logs.
Gaga's quote specifically was
Porch.
come up, get off the porch and come make a dance record.
Come downstairs and make a dance record with us.
Well, maybe that's what the people in my cabin are saying to me too. Maybe they want me to make a dance record too.
Cigarettes don't exist in the world of folklore.
That's
No, they
true.
don't. They don't.
No.
I
You're
don't know if
totally
any.
right.
I, well, I'm trying to think if drugs do exist in the world of folklore.
I don't think
I mean,
so.
wine for
Well,
sure.
alcohol is every form of alcohol is
It's
present.
flowing.
It's flowing. She's the most alcoholic she's ever been. Um, yeah, I don't know. I could maybe see like August girl like smoking like a blunt. Like I could maybe see her doing that, you know? Or
Yeah, I
Sure.
feel
like
like Taylor
maybe
would talk about smoking weed before she would talk about smoking a cigarette.
yeah, I can never see her. Well,
Yeah.
she does I think she does partake in weed.
Yeah.
Because she went to those this is gonna sound so crazy, but Questlove had these like
The
Uno
parties.
parties at this like
Oh, yeah.
weed bar in New York, and like Taylor like was going to them for like she went to them for like weeks in a row. And actually there's a theory that that's because, and this is so crazy, that he's directing a live action version of the Aristocats for Disney and that she's trying to be in it, which wouldn't surprise me because she likes to be cinematic cat. That's something she enjoys doing. So who knows? But yeah, I do think that she partakes in the devil's
Uh,
lettuce. Well, anyways, so I've been very much in a folklore mood. And it's been funny because, every time I've been listening to the album, a song will come on and I'm like, oh my God, I love this song so much. This has to be the song that I'm going to pick. And then, like, it will be over and then the next song will start and be like, oh, wait, no, this song is amazing. Like, I have to pick this song for my hot track. I've had, like, this has happened to me every single time I've listened to the album. So I think the one that I've landed on is I am going to be a champion for underrepresented voices and the oppressed. Because if we go back to the very beginning, there was one girl in the Folklorian Woods who was ostracized, tarred and feathered by Drew and Maria. One girl who's not understood. And I will stand up for her because I love her forever. She is, to me, she's the center of folklore. If you get it, you get it. And it is Miss Betty. I love Betty. Betty, 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 Betty. All day, every day. I think that song is so incredible. I think it's such an achievement in songcraft. I love the place that it comes in at the album. I think it's like in that perfect like home stretch place. And we'd had these other two perspectives. And then I think Betty, the song kind of ties everything together of the folklorian love triangle. I think she sounds great on it. I love the way it's produced. I love the harmonica. And I just think it's like it captures like a very pure essence of Taylor that I don't really think is present on the rest of the album. Like it kind of has, I think, some of the like naivete and earnestness of like Fearless or like Speak Now, like that kind of that like will it patch your broken wings? Like that to me is so fearless. And I love Betty so much. Like, standing in your cardigan, kissing in my car again. Like it's so good. And I don't feel like she got the love that she was owed in our episode, so I wanted to give it to her now. Miss Maria's making shady faces, but I don't care.
I 100% understand your perspective and respect it. I just don't think I'll ever come around on that song, and that's just for me, myself, and I to sit with.
Yeah, I
So,
haven't come around either.
You just don't get it. You don't
I
sure.
get
think
it.
I do get it. I just don't
No.
think I don't think I like it.
Like I
But you,
understand what's going on because obviously I like the rest of the album. It's just yeah, it's like getting it versus liking it. I kind of agree with Drew there. I don't know.
sound off in the comments below if you agree, who you agree
Please,
with. Tell us.
please.
Except if you agree with Drew and Maria, don't comment.
Yeah, I was gonna
Oh,
say Maria's gonna like hashtag on our YouTube like
Yeah, she's
Swift
gonna hashtag
hater.
Swift hater, Betty hater, Betty's horrible. Hashtag Betty is a terrible song.
oh my gosh, y'all.
Well,
Okay,
Miss
Maria.
YouTube.
Sure. So, admittedly, I haven't been listening to a whole lot of music this week because I've been listening to so much of the Trixie and Katya podcast, Bald and the Beautiful. So, like, honestly, I really haven't been listening to a lot of music, but for what I've been listening to here and there, um, like, and I was a little bit worried that Levi, you were gonna pick it because we talked a lot about it on Friday because it's a new holiday. But my hot track is going to be Sky Fits Heaven from Ray of Light
Yes!
by Madonna. Because whenever you whenever you send a text in our group chat using one of the lyrics, it always makes me laugh so hard.
There's
Like they're
something
always
about that
so
song that
funny.
is so funny. I don't know what
It's
it is about
so
that song in
funny.
particular, but I think that song is like the funniest song in Ray of Light.
It's always like watching the signs as they go, and it's like a funny gif. And then I think I use like me when I realize that following my heart is a very good place
Good
to
place to
start.
start. I think you
Like
use that messy Carla gif, right?
like it's just so funny. Like that song is really memeable, I feel. But it's also like very sweet. But yeah,
It's a
that's
great
gonna be my
song.
hot track just because we had a moment on it. A moment about it on what is now hashtag Sky Fits Heaven Friday.
Hashtag Sky Fit 7
So
Friday.
make sure to use the hashtag. It'll be in the
Put that
comments of the
hashtag in the
description.
YouTube. Put
It's going
I
to
that.
be in the
dare
YouTube
you.
description because I know people are going to start talking about it because we talked about it today. So that's
We'll
it.
get to 100 million subscribers instantly.
Instantly.
Because everyone is like, man, I just need to find my corner of the internet where people are talking about Sky Fits Heaven
Talking
on
about this
Fridays.
because nobody else is talking about how we're all traveling down our own roads and watching the signs as
Watching the
they
signs
go.
as they go. I mean,
I mean,
come on.
who that's what we're doing. Maria, have you watched the Drowned World Tour performance of that song?
No.
Oh, you got a one-way ticket to Gag City
Our
the
favorite
second you type that in.
Australian YouTuber, he has a reaction to the Drowned World tour. Have you
I know.
watched it?
I watched it the other day. It was really good. He was living and he was gagging at that performance because it's so cool. There's a lot of aerial stuff in that. Like she's connected to harnesses and she's like flying
Oh,
and flipping in the
fun.
air, and then she's doing like some kind of like martial arts routine as well. And
That's right.
it's I mean it's very cultural appropriation, but that was kind of before pop music caught up to that whole thing. I mean,
Oh, got it.
Right.
that was like the age of Gwen Stefani cosplaying as Japanese,
Yeah.
which is better than where she is now. I mean, now she's cosplaying as a
40-day prayer challenge.
yeah, a 40-day prayer challenge Republican Trumper who
Yeah.
loves Tucker Carlson. So
Oh,
I would bring back the Harajuku girls, please. They're needed. I also love that album.
well,
But anyways, okay. Hashtag Skyfit7 Friday. Don't forget to like and share it.
Yes. All right,
fun.
Drew.
Drew, what are we doing today? Give it to
Yes,
us.
so today we are talking about Eternal Sunshine by Ariana Grande, but specifically kind of talking about it in light of the release of the deluxe version, the Brighter Days Ahead version. Um so yeah, so the initial album was 13 tracks. It was 35 minutes. It was relatively short, but she's this new deluxe version has 19 tracks and it's 55 minutes. So I'd say it's, with the deluxe, it's a little lengthy, but yeah, the original album came out March 8th of 2024. So it followed her album Positions. Um, which was an album initially it got, I would say, like mixed to negative feedback, specifically by like the majority of her fans. She actually talked a lot about it. She did Las Culturistas on the press tour of Wicked, and they kind of talked to her about Positions because Bowen and Matt were huge fans of it as like an album. They were both obviously huge fans of hers. And she kind of talked about how like she was planning kind of a lot of promotional things to do for the album, and then once it kind of came out and she saw that the fans weren't really invested in it, she kind of just like scrapped all of it. Um, so yeah, so I thought that was really interesting to kind of talk about how she kind of talked about that. But I would say the shift from Positions to Eternal Sunshine kind of was a large shift for her in like making an album. Like it was definitely a shift in like the sound and production that she usually does. Like there's obviously like in her earlier stuff there's a lot of like almost like doo-wop kind of influence, and then it kind of shifts to like kind of an R&B, and then honestly like with Sweetener and Thank You Next there was like almost a hip hop kind of influence in a lot of her songs. And I feel like this is kind of going backwards to like the R&B stuff that she was mainly doing. Um, So if that makes any sense. And it also was a huge shift, this Eternal Sunshine, in like songwriting and concept. Like we hadn't really seen Ariana do like a concept album like this. So the idea of Eternal Sunshine is stemmed from the 2004 sci-fi film Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, which stars Jim Carrey. That's like her favorite actor of all time. She's like obsessed with Jim Carrey. Um, and so that album follows a relationship where the wife, which is played by Kate Winslet, goes through a procedure to forget her partner, played by Jim Carrey. So, and it also like that the Eternal Sunshine movie is highlighted a lot in the short film and the We Can't Be Friends music video. Um, so yeah, so that was clearly something that inspired her as it is about her breakup from her husband, Dalton. Uh, so kind of it's obviously a breakup album about that, but it also kind of touches on her relationship with her Wicked co-star Ethan Slater and the huge backlash that came from it. Obviously they were both married and there was a lot of just controversy around their relationship once it was announced. So yeah, it also, I think, kind of highlights a hidden breakup that she kind of had with her fans that were really abusive to her mental health. I feel like she kind of took a step back from the fan culture that she was really involved in, especially like in the Sweetener Thank You Next era when she was like really on top of like the pop music game. So yeah, so this album was recorded during the SAG strike. So she was filming Wicked um and in September 2023, when the SAG strike happened, she and that was also kind of the peak of her relationship with Ethan Slater kind of coming to light in the media. She obviously left the site of filming due to the strike, but then was immediately inspired to create Eternal Sunshine. She made it with Max Martin, who was a longtime collaborator, and Elia as well. So they both made it in a short period of time. Um, from September, and then she had to go back to film the rest of it once the strike was uplifted, and then she finished it shortly after that. So, and then it came out in March of 2024. So, um, she's usually known for doing these kind of fast rollouts for albums, like specifically Thank You Next was came very fast, and then also Positions. I know she didn't start working on it until like very close to it being announced that that was what was going to happen in 2020. So yeah, she's kind of known for doing these like short creation to rollout situations, which I think is really cool because it saves a lot for spoilers. So yeah, that's so the first single that came out was Yes and, which came out in January. And it debuted at number one, was pretty well received, like as a pop song by her fans specifically. And then the album came out with We Can't Be Friends as the kind of like lead single for the album release. Um, Not lead single, but like the second single. It came out in March of 2024, and both the album and We Can't Be Friends debuted at number one. So then the only other single was The Boy's Mine, which she kind of promoted with a remix with Brandy and Monica, which I thought was really cool. Yeah. And there was the music videos for this were really strong as well. There she worked with someone named Christian who did all of both the I think all of the music videos and the short film that was accompanied with the Eternal Sunshine Deluxe that we're talking about. So yeah, another thing that I wanted to like kind of talk about was um along with the idea of like it being kind of Eternal Sunshine going along with the film Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, she also kind of plays with the terrestrial vibe of it. Like there's a lot highlighted in like the Saturn Returns interlude and like the sunshine theme in that sense. So it's not even just like a breakup album that like goes along with this breakup film. It kind of also has like a starry kind of planetary vibe, which I really like. Um, so yeah, so kind of going on the reception of it, it has an 84 on Metacritic, which is obviously pretty good. Um, It's her second strongest since Thank You Next. So that's her second best score. Um, yeah, and then on Pitchfork, it has a 7.2, which is actually her second lowest on Pitchfork. Um, so I thought that was kind of interesting. It's only higher than yours truly. So thought that was interesting. I don't think I necessarily agree with that at all, but um and it got a really great positive response from her fans. I feel like a lot of people because there was a break between positions and this, and I feel like a lot of people were really happy to see her back and see her like doing something different. Um yeah, this feels like the first album of hers. I don't know if you guys would agree, but I feel like it's the first album of hers in like of since I can remember that doesn't feel like incredibly divisive it's between people. I feel like people genuinely have like positive feedback for some things. I feel like a lot of people were like really happy to see her back in the pop. I didn't see a lot of like horrible things about it online that people thought. That's all. Did with maybe all of her other albums. I saw a lot of people like hating on it. So I thought that was really good. And then obviously the Metacritic kind of reflects that too. It's the only one that's higher than her Metacritic for this was Thank You Next. And it was at an 86 and this was at an 84. So yeah. And that's kind of all I wanted to like lead in with. She kind of talked about um touring the album. Like she thought about doing a smaller tour in between the Wicked films, so it would have been like probably starting up now. She confirmed in an interview that she's not planning on doing that anymore. Yeah. So I think she's probably moving forward with obviously she got a lot of acclaim doing Wicked, and I think she's probably moving forward doing like movies, which is great. So yeah, I think this might be where like the promotional kind of era of Eternal Sunshine ends. I think it might be with this deluxe version, but we'll see. So yeah. Um
Cool. Thanks, Drew.
yeah. Um uh Maria, what do you think?
Whoa,
You go
okay. Oh
first,
my
Maria.
gosh. Yes. Well, also side note, if you happen to hear a loud buzzing noise, it's because our dryer goes off and it makes this loud, crazy alarm. So that might happen while I'm talking. So
Unacceptable.
just precursor to if that happens.
Well, if it
And
happens, you're off the pod. Sorry.
oh,
Yeah.
But can
perfect.
you still
Well,
do
it's
the YouTube?
yeah, for sure. It's definitely gonna happen within the next couple minutes, but that sounds good with me. So so yeah, thanks for picking this, Drew. I did listen to this album, I think on the day it came out. I mean, I've never been the biggest Ariana fan personally. Like I feel like I've been a person that just kind of picks and chooses her songs. Um, I did listen to Positions all the way through, and I did enjoy it quite a bit, like during COVID. Like I did spend a moment with it, and I feel like that's the most time historically I'd like really ever given like a
Hmm.
full Ariana Grande project before. Um, but yeah, I mean, obviously it's just cool because like we all grew up with her like on Victoria. So it's just been like a cool progression, just like to really see an artist's career be so vast, but also like really see it like from its like major beginnings all the way through now and just to see everything that she does and is so talented at. So very cool just to see her progress as an artist and as she just grows and all of that sort of stuff. So very cool, very fun. I think this is just such an interesting shift from what she's typically done while also kind of going back to some of her original sound like you mentioned, Drew. Because I like wouldn't want to say that this is like bedroom pop because I feel like that would just put this album in a box that it's like not necessarily in. But it's so much more of a mellow pop experience that like I feel like it finds itself still in the middle of like the kind of big like arena pop music that she's always made, and then like more of like a mellow, chill like bedroom pop. But I feel like it kind of finds itself in the middle because there still are more exciting songs on it, like Yes and or by or The Boy's Mine. I feel like kind of fits in that too. It's just like a little bit more upbeat, like a little bit more danceable. But then like a lot of this is like very somber and mellow. So I kind of enjoyed that as just like a little bit more of like a softer kind of album experience than I think what her albums have typically been. Because obviously, I mean, it's all just like very fun pop music. It's just, I think, a little bit of a shift from that. So yeah, I think this is super fun to listen to. Um, and something too with Ariana Grande music, in my opinion, I feel like her approach to music is always like very smart, like very academic. Like when you listen to it, you can really hear the musicality. I think she brings that kind of level of like academic musicality to music that not a lot of pop stars on her level do, if that makes sense. Like when you listen to her music, and especially with the way that she stacks vocally and harmonizes with herself, like it just kind of comes off in a different, like music theory kind of way that like not a lot of artists do necessarily. So that's just something I really enjoy when listening to her is how smart and intentional it all sounds, you know? So that's a big takeaway for me. Um, I kind of have mixed feelings about this being a concept album, with the Eternal Sunshine movie of it all, because I do think that she took some unique spins on it. I feel like I just have some mixed feelings about it not necessarily being like a completely original concept. I don't know. I don't want to sound like the art police or anything, but I just feel like I have a little bit of mixed feelings about it being like I'm gonna take this concept from a movie and kind of have that be my album. I think everything that she does with it completely works, and it's really interesting to hear, especially how she kind of applies those concepts to like her real life experiences and what she's talking about. Yeah,
If
I
I
don't
can
know.
I add on that, Maria?
Please,
Because I
please.
think I feel similarly a little bit, and I don't think it's because I think my thing is less that it's from a movie. And I love that film, by the way. If anybody hasn't seen that film, it's have you both seen it? I can't remember.
Yeah, Drew and I watched it
Yes.
together on Zoom over COVID.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah,
cute.
yeah.
Yeah,
I love that movie. It's my favorite Kate Winslet performance, and I love Kate Winslet.
so good.
And Jim Carrey's amazing. I think it's his best performance too. It's a really incredible film. Anyways, I think for me, it's less that it's kind of taken from this film, and it's more that it's not entirely the same as the film because I think a major part of the film is that these two people go under the surgery to forget each other, but in the process of doing that, they realize that they don't want to forget each other, and then they end up finding their way back to each other anyways. And that's not obviously what happens like thematically in this album. It's much more of like I want to forget you because of how you made me feel, but then she kind of does because she finds this other person who like fills her life with things. And for me, it's a little bit like, well, if we're doing this concept that has been very firmly established as like this is what the plot of this film is, and it's a very beloved kind of iconic film. I mean, it won an Oscar for the screenplay. It's a bit muddled for me in terms of like the connection of the actual music and the story that the album tells versus the concept on top of it. I mean, and obviously, I think that the We Can't Be Friends music video is incredibly effective. I think it is that shot of her crying like towards the end. Is it like the last chorus when she like is in the chair and like she like try is she holding on to a necklace? Is that what it
Yeah,
is?
yeah. She like doesn't want to let go of the necklace.
I
Yeah.
mean, we should have known that the Oscar nom was happening just from that because it was
Yeah.
like I was very emotional watching that. I just think I kind of agree with you a bit, Maria, that I would have been interested to maybe like that like video could have been still Eternal Sunshine themed, but I just would have been interesting because I think that the story is a bit different from what that film is. Um, and the concept doesn't fully feel fleshed out, maybe a little bit to me. But I just
I
relate to what you're
think,
saying.
can I like add something to that? Because I think maybe I shouldn't have said like it. I don't think she went into creating this album like saying that this would I don't think she meant that this was going to be the entire concept of the album. I think less of a concept, I think like more of the inspiration to a lot of it. Like I don't think she was meaning to like narratively completely like relate to the plot of the film. I think more so is like just kind of an inspiration, I guess. And also like I think what doesn't bother me about the things that kind of have bothered both of you about kind of the release of it, I think the song, the title track of it is more so about like the idea of like the words eternal sunshine and not so much of like eternal sunshine that matches the film. So that's why I don't think it bothers me as much. I guess I just don't see it as like because it is a concept album, but I don't think it's like a it I don't know. I think like concept album is like I don't know. I think the term concept album is like not I guess what I was trying to say, but
I just
more
know
so
that
the like
she's called it a concept album. I know
okay.
that she's used those terminology before when she was like introducing it.
Okay, got it. Yeah, but yeah, it that just like that's how I kind of went into it, so that's why it didn't bother me. I saw it more of like an inspiration rather than like she's like kind of making an album from the plot of Eternal Sunshine.
Oh yeah, no, and I agree with you. I guess it's just like you have that connotation there, so like people are gonna make. I think it is logical that people are gonna make a connection to it because you have
Okay.
like, I mean, you have this very specific title that is obviously from the film. She talks about the film being an inspiration, and then
Yeah.
the music video is like, a recreation of the film. So I think that like it's makes sense why people would be making, a connection between the two. But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's all super fair. For me, I feel like it's just a little bit like, I guess, I don't know, not like hard to digest, but it just feels a little bit half-baked, kind of in the middle of it, of like it's like a lofty idea that's throughout it. Like, I don't know, I feel like I'm either like, I want the concept to be so there and so apparent. I mean, I don't know. But then again, I think having it as an inspiration is very cool. Because obviously, like Levi said, it's an incredible film. And yeah, I mean the inspiration of it is super apparent and obviously very intentional because that's what she titled the album. So yeah. I'm trying to think, but I feel like those are my thoughts really. I did want to say too, I'm not like in love with the standard cover of it. I'm not sure if I really understand why there's two of her. I feel like a lot of the other photos that she did for this album were like super cool. So yeah, I mean, I don't know, like Drew, if you have any other insight to like why there's two of her on the cover. I feel like I was like a little bit lost with that.
I see it like more as like her like loving herself more, like putting her head on her own shoulder, like kind of like
Hmm.
the words eternal sunshine, like finding it in herself. Like that's how I see
Yeah.
it. I personally my favorites are the ones the stills of her with the red gloves
Yes,
with
that's
the
what I was
like
thinking
light shining
of.
on her. Those are my favorite. I
Yeah.
definitely like it more than the standard. Yeah.
I actually really like the standard album cover. I think I prefer the Brighter Days cover. I just think that image is
Oh
so
yeah.
striking of her like floating
For
up.
sure.
Uh, but I do like the visual metaphor of like her leaning on herself, literally. Um, and maybe I'm just shallow, but I think her hair looks really pretty. I think that like the way that
Yeah, the hair.
the hair looks really, really pretty. So
Oh
yeah.
yes.
Well, are you done, Maria?
Well,
Yes.
are you
Sorry,
you
I
done?
actually the alarm happened and it was perfectly timed with me not saying anything in the middle of like I was in the
Oh,
middle of a
okay.
sentence, so
Oh, right. Sure.
okay. Well, thank you for your patience with that.
Yeah.
But well, so actually, Drew, do you want us to talk about anything about the deluxe version right now, or are we just gonna
I
save it
mean, yeah,
until like
if you
bonus?
want to like talk about like I know you said you watched the film and like I don't know if you just had any extra thoughts about it or
Sure. Well, I thought the film was cute. I it was like a little bit of like a scrapbook of like here's a snippet of this song and here's this moment or whatever. So it didn't feel like super consistent in like the storytelling in my opinion, but very visually striking. And like the visualizations too, like some of the new songs and some of the standard songs were pretty enjoyable to watch. But yeah, it's like Ariana Grande, like watching memories. And it was just super cute. I mean, like there was like old
Yeah.
like family videos of like her and her family members and like snippets of her when she was young, which was just like so cute to see. So yeah, I thought the film was cute and I think the deluxe tracks are all really cool. Like I feel like they have just like a little bit more of an evolved identity from the standard tracks, but you can still tell that they're really related. So yeah, I
Yeah.
thought it was like a very cool extension of the album. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that she decided to release it. So
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely think it adds to the experience for sure. So I mean, yeah, that's really all, but yeah,
Yeah,
it's
the
nice.
the short film doesn't really feel like completely like necessary to like listening, I would say. It's kind of just like
Totally.
an added like in the olden days when we would have DVDs and there would be like the special features or like the end
Mm.
credit scene. It feels very much like that.
Yeah.
Um, but like obviously glad that we have it because it's not bad. But like, yeah, it's just really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, yeah,
Okay.
so that's my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Queen Levi.
Well, I also want to first just kind of like add something to that conversation we were having earlier about the concept stuff. Because I want to say that something I really admire about her, taking away like what the thoughts are and the concept and everything, I think she is a student of pop culture and like true pop culture. And she's a nerd. Like she's a huge musical theater nerd. She like likes like old-timey movies. She likes very specific stuff. She likes genre movies. I just think that's really cool. I think she's not afraid to like introduce those things to a mainstream audience in a way that like they maybe wouldn't normally be introduced. Like I don't think like the average like Arianator would know who like Jason Robert Brown is if it wasn't for Ariana
Yeah,
Grande.
totally.
I've always really thought that was cool of her. Like she's obviously like such a beautiful, stunning woman visually, and she's a famous rich pop star, but she has like the special interests of a 50-year-old gay man, which I
Right,
find
right.
and that's like actually one of the things I find most endearing about her. So I just wanted to say that. And also talking about like what you and Maria were just talking about with like the film and the deluxe and stuff. I've really been liking this trend of artists releasing the deluxe versions of their albums like a ways after the album had already been released as like kind of like a, a epilogue of sorts. I think that's kind of cool because obviously, you know, with especially when physical consumption was the main way that people consumed music, deluxe CDs were first invented as a way to get people to buy more copies. You know, you'd have like maybe the average person would buy like a copy of the CD, but like maybe a really hardcore fan would buy both or buy the deluxe or whatever. And they would normally come out at the same time. It wasn't a thing of like there'd be a wait or a delay in between. And I think it's kind of cool, especially with what you said, Drew, during your intro about this kind of being the send off of the era and like it coming almost like exactly like just like a little bit after a year, right? That the album was released.
Yeah, yeah.
So I think that's cool. I like it. And it's also cool because obviously in between those things, the whole Wicked explosion happened. And I think I wasn't sure. I mean, I'm obviously like much more of a casual observer than like someone like Drew is, but I wasn't sure, just as somebody who's aware of her culturally and follows pop music and stuff, I wasn't sure if like we were gonna get more Eternal Sunshine or if like the focus was gonna be, you know, solely Wicked. And then obviously we have the other film coming out later in the year. So I think it's cool that she did this and that she kind of made sure that like it got a real proper like ending moment sign off. And kind of another like gift to the fans who were very supportive, I think, of Wicked. And obviously, Wicked was a huge success. So I just think it's really cool the way that she decided to roll it all out. Well, I'm so happy that we're finally doing an Ariana album because obviously we've talked about this before, but this is one of Drew's favorite girls. And so I'm excited to be talking about her. And obviously, this is her most recent album, so it makes sense that we'd be talking about this one. Yeah, Ariana's an artist that I've kind of have like a complicated relationship with because I've gone through like periods of like being very, very into her and then periods of like not being moved as much. In high school, I was so obsessed with My Everything, her second album. I loved that album. I was so obsessed with it. I listened to it all the time. And like Dangerous Woman, had its moments. I had beef with her when she released Focus because she released Focus on my birthday. And I was so excited because I thought it was going to be an absolute serve. And it was not the serve that I wanted it to be. And I was like, why is she trying to ruin my birthday? That's so rude of her. But I've kind of always had a mixed relationship. And like when Sweetener came out, I I think I really, really wanted to like it. And there was like a time that I was like, the first time Drew ever met me, I was strutting down the hall and our first day of class, and I was blaring Sweetener so loud in my headphones. And I told Drew, oh yeah, it's her best album. I think I like wanted it to be my favorite album of hers more than I actually thought it was. Um, because I don't think that anymore. I think it's a bit of a mixed bag. And then I pretty love almost all of Thank You Next. There's a few things that don't work for me in Thank You Next, but I love that album. And then Positions wasn't my gag. So I've kind of been back and forth with her. I think part of it is I really I really dislike the Arianators. I think the Arianators can be so mean. I think they're like out of like the fandom, like I think they can be like really, 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 really mean. Um, I had an Arianator call me ugly over the summer, because of the Eras tour. Like they said like something like all Swifties are ugly. And then like I think I got commented something. They're like, oh yeah, exactly, proving my point. I was like, ah, rude. I looked so good in my Eras tour outfit. They're mean. The Arianator,
They're vicious.
they are I think the Barbs probably still take the cake. But I think Arianators are real can be very, very vicious. And I say this as a Swiftie. I know that we're crazy, but I think Arianators are another level. So I think that's probably part of sometimes my hesitations with Ariana is the fact that I don't really love the Arianators. And also, just to kind of talk about biases, like it's very noted, I think, on this podcast, if you listen to episodes, the kind of music that I gravitate towards, the kind of music craft that I'm really inspired by. And I don't think Ariana's music, traditionally really falls into that. I mean, I love a singer-songwriter. I love somebody who's very, very lyrics focused. And I mean, Ariana's obviously one of the great vocalists of our time. And that's the star of the show, as it should be if you have a voice like that. It's just not always something that I like personally resonate with or connect to. So I think that can also be part of it. And I just want to like say that and acknowledge that, I maybe have a bias. But at the same time, I say that and like one of my favorite songs of all time, like a top 20, maybe like a top 20 song of all time for me is Ghostin' from Thank You Next. That's a very important, special song for me. So it's always just kind of a bit of a thing with me. I've loved her on the Wicked tour. I know we talked about that on the Wicked episode, but I think to me, she's the star of the Wicked press tour. Love Cynthia, but like I think that like especially given the horrible publicity that Ariana Grande had in like 2023 when all this Ethan Slater stuff came out and she was like public enemy number one, the complete 180 to I think she's so beloved now. And I think it's so much because she's just being like so endearing on this press tour and like so funny. I mean, I remember watching that Vanity Fair lie detector thing and being like, this is the most I've ever loved her. She's so charming. So I'm really loving her now, honestly. I love movie star Ariana. Anyways, that's a big preface to actually get into the album. So I listened to the record, of course, when it came out. I think I also listened to it the day that I actually think I tried to stay up and listen to it with Drew, and I think I fell asleep. Drew, is that right?
I am not for sure about, I don't know.
I want to say that I think I did because I think I was trying to be a Drew ally. And I want to say maybe around Supernatural, I was like, girl, I got to go to bed. But I do think that that is what happened. If I'm wrong, sue me. But I do think that maybe is what occurred. And so I listened to it a bit during during the release. And then I would say the thing that really stuck with me was We Can't Be Friends. I love that song. I don't really think anything else had like extreme staying power. And so it was, cool to revisit it again a year later to see how the original album has aged for me and what I, maybe picked up on after not having a relationship with it for a while and then also hearing the new songs. And so I think the biggest impression that you get listening to this album is the words that I had were sophisticated and tasteful. I think that like it is a very tasteful and pleasant album to listen to. And like I don't mean that as like a shady like smooth jazz Kenny G kind of like elevator music comment. I'm just like sonically like her voice is so beautiful. She's such a pretty voice and the vocal layering is so beautiful and it's just it's mixed the combination of that and the way that the production sounds, the way that her voice sits in it, like it's just very pleasant to listen to. And I think that you can tell that this is, in my opinion, like her most mature album. I think that like this is kind of like a step for her as an artist towards something a bit more elegant and sophisticated and mature. I also think that it's been interesting. I think in this album cycle, more than any album cycle, there's been an emphasis actually on her as a songwriter. And I think that like part of that is I know the credits are broken up, lyrics and music. And like I think that I saw noted on Twitter a bit was that she's the sole lyricist on all the deluxe songs. And I think that's something that she and like I know like she's been like teasing lyrics and stuff, and that's just something that, you know, from my perspective as a casual listener, I don't really feel like has ever been the emphasis as much. And I think that, you know, is good for her for trying to evolve as an artist and embracing things that maybe hadn't been as central to her identity. Not saying obviously I know that she has songwriting credits on so many of her songs. Um, I just think that like this is a very like firm step in that direction compared to a lot of things. Uh, and I think it's very cohesive album thematically. I mean, if we're not, you know, not talking about like the whole film thing, I think this album tells such a clear story. And it's actually really funny. I haven't seen anybody make this connection, and I hadn't even really made it either, but I think it's very thematically, it's actually really funny. This album came out March 2023, 2024, and a month later, an album that I think has a very similar narrative structure would come out, and that's Tortured Poets. Because both albums feature the narrator starting in one relationship that's not serving them and then choosing to jump ship and go into another one. And they're kind of like the inverse of each other. Because for Ariana, it clearly was a good decision and it worked out. And this new relationship is positive and happy and life giving and fulfilling. And with Taylor, it was stepping on a grenade. It was a really bad decision that she made. But I just think that's interesting. I hadn't seen anybody make that comparison. I mean, so often like people pit like the two of them together just as they pit any female artist in pop music together. And it was like, oh, like I like it when things are in conversation with each other and when things come out, you know, around the same time that like obviously weren't influenced by each other but have similar concepts. So I think that was really cool. Uh, Listening to the album again, something that I wanted more of, I wish that there was a bit more texture in the production. Um, the vocal layering has such richness to it, and like it's so tangible to me. You can really feel how physical the vocal layering sounds. Wish that there was more of that in the production. There are moments where I think the production feels a bit muted compared to like the intense intricacy of those vocal layerings. And I also think, you know, I think it's a very pleasant album. I think it's very sophisticated. There's a lot of things I enjoy, but I, and I don't mean this shady. I do think it's maybe a little boring sometimes for me, just in the sense that everything is kind of the same mid-tempo. Like Maria said, it has that very mellow vibe. And I think part of it is, you know, the album, the production is very like muted and subtle and kind of like has this similar sound to it. And then I don't really feel like I have anything that like is super noteworthy or attention grabbing to grab onto like lyrically or sonically. And then vocally, obviously we know that she's such a powerhouse vocalist, but she plays it, she's so soft, her vocal presence is so soft, which is beautiful. But again, it can sometimes just like blend together as like a very pretty, soft pleasant sound and not maybe something that it's always like attention grabbing. And then there are like outlier moments where something kind of like different happens sonically. Like I think Bye has a bit of that. Yes and is very much like an outlier sonically. Like We Can't Be Friends is kind of like a Robin-esque sound that isn't really seen elsewhere. And so when stuff like that happens, I'm much more like, oh, what's happening? Um, and so that I think kind of grabs my attention more. And then something else that I kind of noticed this past go around that I wish that we had gotten more of is, obviously this whole thing that happened, I'm sure it was a really horrible situation to go through, this whole like press explosion with the Ethan Slater thing and the fallout of that. I mean, I can't imagine being in her shoes and how horrible it was. It was a really messy situation, kind of, I think, in all angles. And there are moments in the album where I wish that that like complicated, messy quality was reflected in the music. I think that sometimes there's like everything's a little too clean, and I would love to see what she would give if she wrote an album where like it was the messiness was a lot more embraced. I think part of what makes Thank You Next so compelling for me is like I feel like that is an album where like she is the central character, is super acknowledging like the messiness the decisions that she's making and like the complications and everything. And like, like a song like In My Head is obviously not very flattering towards Pete Davidson, but it's also not flattering towards herself, because she's like, it was literally all in my head and I made you up. And like, this is kind of on me as much as it is on you. And there are just moments where I wish that like I'm not wanting her to be like I'm a home wrecker, blah blah blah, because I don't think everything is black and white, and like obviously I don't think that she should like talk about herself in those terms. But there are just moments where I wish that things were a bit messier because I think that stuff is really interesting, and I think I'm so much more compelled to like connect and empathize with artists when they get like that. Um, and I don't think she really here is wanting to paint herself in a not flattering light. Um, yeah, I that is the majority of the notes that I had in the standard, and then I broke down my thoughts per song in the deluxe. I'm not going to go through each of them. I was pretty mixed on the deluxe. I don't think nothing is bad. I mean, and again, everything is very pleasant to listen to. There were a few songs that I thought were forgettable, but then there were a few songs that I loved. I loved Past Life and I loved Hampstead. And I thought those songs added a layer of drama. Like her vocals on Past Life are my favorite in the entire album because I think she really goes for it. And like if you can go for it, I want you to go for it. And then Hampstead is like I loved the lyrics of Hampstead. I love that she ends like her divorce album with saying I do, I do, I do. Like I think that was so cool. I like the chord structure a lot in that song. I think she sounds great on it. So yeah, I think that's where I am on Eternal Sunshine. Um, it yeah, I definitely respect it. I think it's a very, you know, pleasant listen. I think obviously there's so much craft here. She's just so insanely talented. She's like, I don't really think anybody else compares to her when it comes to like harmonies. And it sounds so expensive. There are moments where I just wish that it was maybe a bit more challenging or ambitious. Um, but obviously very, I think overall a successful effort from her. And clearly, it's been received so well by her fans and by critics. And the one thing I will say, which I do not get at all, I do not understand how the one major component of this album that didn't get nominated for a Grammy was We Can't Be Friends. That makes zero sense to me. Will somebody explain that to me? I don't get that. What is happening? Like,
Because so Yes and got like dance
Yes,
pop.
and got nominated for a Grammy, and We Can't Be Friends didn't. What is going on in America? Yeah, it got Dance Pop, Boy Is Mine got Pop Duo, and then Internal Sunshine got
Pop
Pop
vocal,
Album.
yeah.
I mean, you know me, I'm no Arianator, but We Can't Be Friends should have been in there for Record and Song of the Year. Just point blank period
Yeah.
dot com. It
Yeah,
is, but not even pop solo.
that's
What is
crazy.
I'm a brat. You know me, I love brat, but Apple over We Can't Be Friends.
Craziness.
What is going on in America? Or like
I think we know.
did like did we did we really need? I mean, obviously Beyonce's Beyonce, and I love Bodyguard. Bodyguard's, I think, my favorite song in Cowboy Carter. But like, she had fucking 10 other nominations. Could we not have given one of the best pop songs of the last 5 years a fucking nomination? I don't. This is the thing with the Grammys. I swear to God, they're out to get me. Because every single time an artist that, like, I'm not even that obsessed with releases something I'm, like, crazy for, they give it the finger. Like when Billie Eilish was winning every single thing under the sun, she could have farted on microphone and they would have given it to her. I mean, she won Record of the Year for Everything I Wanted. And then she releases the best song of all time, Happier Than Ever. And they're like, actually, fuck you, Billy. Actually, fuck you.
Give us those awards back.
I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, the We Can't Be Friends erasure is
It's
a lot.
crazy. If you have not lived, if you have not been on a dance floor when We Can't Be Friends comes on, like, that is living.
Yeah.
This is what it's about. I don't understand. It, and
Yeah,
like,
it's
again,
madness.
Drew knows me. I am not biased when I'm saying this. I am not an Arianator. I am not, Grande Stan Moonlight 92 on Twitter. What is happening? We need answers, Recording Academy, now.
We need to launch a full federal investigation.
Yes, we do. DOJ, do something useful with your fucking time. Doge,
The
get on that.
Arianators that hate her were voting on they hacked the Recording Academy. That's what happened.
I don't
God.
get it. It just lost because it's also like that song wasn't a flop. It was the biggest hit from the album.
It was a hit.
It was a hit.
It was
It
a
was the
smashiana.
biggest. It
I
was. It
think
was
the problem with
Smashiana.
it, I think the problem with like it for Grammys was it was like the first of the bunch in the pop albums that were nominated. I think it kind of just got lost. Um,
It's just so crazy to me. I
it's
just
crazy
don't.
though, yeah.
It's like the logic is not there. It's not present in anything. I don't get it at all.
No.
So I just needed to get on my soapbox because
Right, right.
someone had to say it, and if somebody wants to say it again, I'll be clapping and cheering and Zoom reacting to it.
There you go.
Well, there you go. So that's me, Drew. Thank you, Maria, for
Right,
the clap
right.
emoji.
Maria
Thank
claps.
you.
Okay.
Zoom emoji.
Zoom emoji.
Amazing. Okay. So I as we've hinted at in the past, Ariana is a huge artist for me. She was really like the first artist that I was really into when like fan and like stan culture was a thing, like where it was like very clearly like you would kind of devote your kind of energy and fandom into one artist. Definitely like I feel like came into fruition in like pop culture like when we were in high school, like probably like 2014 to like 2015. I feel like that was like the start of kind of stan culture and like Twitter stan culture. And that was when I was really, really into her. Um, so yeah, so I have like a huge history with her. She's like a very special like artist for me. And yeah, I got to so I actually the photo, if you see on her Instagram, is not photoshopped. So I did actually get to meet her. She was like one of the first kind of like famous people that I'd ever gotten to meet or anything. And she was like the nicest human. And this was like for her it was kind of like peak like kind of everyone saying that she was a huge diva and that she was like really rude. It was like right after the like donut scenario that she got in all the trouble
That was the
for.
stupidest controversy of all time. Grow the
Yeah,
fuck
yeah.
up. It was so
So yeah,
stupid.
so I was like I knew she was gonna be great because I had like loved her so much, but like she like really took the time to like try to get to know me as like a person at like a meet and greet, which was like so special. And yeah. So I like
Drew,
I
this was from Honeymoon Tour,
yeah, so actually, so I saw it at Honeymoon Tour, and the and Kansas City was actually the first show of the tour. So I got to
period.
meet her the first arena tour that she ever did. So
That's so cool.
yeah, it was so cool. So yeah, and I really like I was with her. I was like she was my number one from like even before that. So I'd say probably like 2013 to like our freshman year of college was kind of where like the end of Thank You Next era was kind of when she wasn't really like my number one like devoted person. I don't really know like what happened for me to like go down on her. I just like got really into like
Shawn Mendes.
Taylor and like Shawn Mendes. And, like I just got really into other people, and it was timing wise for her. She was like just ending the errand. Then she took like some time
I also feel like
away.
around that time, sophomore year, like I feel like your music taste kind of expanded a bit. Like that was like when like 2019, 2020s, I feel like when you got like more into like indie music. And like
Yeah,
obviously
for
you
sure.
didn't replace that, but like I think you're just maybe listening to like instead of like just like kind of pop music, like you had an expanded maybe kind of, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe a little. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, you could say that. Um, so yeah, just she just wasn't like my like devoted thing that I would go to all the time. Um, So it was really cool to like see, and I kind of had a moment, I think positions um I was like back in a little bit for that. Like I was really into like the promotion aspect of it. Um I was really devoted to like the singles of the album. I really liked positions. Um but then for Eternal Sunshine, I kind of wasn't really like following because she kind of teased the album like in the strike when she was recording it. She wasn't openly like hiding it or anything. And I kind of was just like there for it, but not really like paying any attention. Honestly, like when I really got into it was when Yes and came out. I really liked that song. I thought it was like I thought it was a great way for her to like break the ice in the way that she was going to, because I feel like um obviously like with the whole like home wrecking allegations and things like that, I feel like she wasn't the kind of person to like speak like openly about it just because she was so in it. Like some and stuff that's kind of what we're seeing with these deluxe tracks too, which I love because this album obviously came together so fast that we kind of got the album when she was still kind of processing the relationship as a whole. It definitely wasn't like a typical breakup album when you're kind of recording it in retrospect or like even like just ending something. She was still kind of like living through the allegations of it. Like I still remember when Yes and came out, there were still so many people that were like so upset with her. So I thought it was really interesting, and I thought it was almost necessary to kind of like give us this as a deluxe to kind of end the era, because you can obviously tell in a lot of these new songs that she is speaking on it in a much more like sophisticated way, and she's able to kind of reflect on it in a way that's not kind of defensive, that I feel like a lot of times I feel like that's what kind of came off in Eternal Sunshine in the normal tracks. Which I didn't mind personally. Because I like having like the I knew that I guess I knew she wasn't going to do that. Like there was not a thought in my mind that she was going to like kind of poke fun at the whole like home wrecking thing. I guess not poke fun, but like even just recognize it as a whole. Um, I don't know. So I didn't have as much of a problem with that. Um, but I understand someone from the outside who wouldn't really know her. I understand kind of like wanting a little bit of clarity because it is a breakup album, and someone from the outside only really sees like, oh yeah, she's clearly getting all of this hate for this relationship that she's in, and obviously like artists like to express that in their music. So I could see why someone would be kind of dissatisfied by her not kind of speaking about it in an open way. Um, but yeah, so I really liked the kind of like aspect of that, of kind of getting something and still processing in that kind of way. Um, yeah, I really like the production on this. I felt personally, um, it kind of it takes kind of what was more leaning more songwriting that she was kind of leading to in positions a little bit, like in POV and like songs like that. I feel like it was kind of taking that and making a whole album about it, which I really liked. Yeah, something else that I kind of really was into was and she spoke a lot about this in her interview with Zach Sang they did before the album came out. Because he talked a lot about her vocals in this and how it felt more rewarding rather than other albums because you got kind of like um you got the kind of fun bops, but then it really makes you like work for the and earn the kind of vocal transformations that she does. Like what I'm thinking of is like the kind of start of the album is like bye and don't want to break up again, which is um kind of more boppy pop where you don't really get a lot of vocal acrobatics, and then you go into things like Eternal Sunshine and Supernatural where she really just like lets it all go and kind of gives you the vocals that you would kind of expect from someone with that kind of range. So I kind of like the journey it kind of takes you on. I personally I what I wanted out of her vocals I got. So I was pretty satisfied with the vocals. Um yeah, and I really love um the kind of question that it asks at the beginning. You know, it starts with her kind of saying, "How can I tell if I'm in the right relationship?" And then it kind of comes back to her upbringing with her grandma in Ordinary Things, and she kind of answers the question at the end. Like I think it speaks more as like a it kind of the way that it was kind of created, it feels almost like a slice of life, like something like that, rather than like Thank You Next as it was created so quickly. I didn't really feel like it was as much of the like slice of this era of her as this does. I don't know if that makes sense, but I really feel like we're getting like 2 months of her life in which she created the album rather than like her trying to make this whole kind of journey to go on, if that makes any sense. Um, yeah. So yeah, that's kind of all I wanted to say on it.
Yay.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh.
cool.
Well, thank you, Drew.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Is there
so
a yeah
yeah,
count?
so
Does she say yeah on Eternal Sunshine? Does she?
And she
Because
says yeah, but I don't think there's any yeahs.
I
like
don't
I
think
feel
she
like
says yeah.
the peak of yeah was like Sweetener Thank You Next. Like that was like when like the
Yeah.
yeah thing was like super huge. Does she yeah on Positions?
There's got to be at least one, I feel.
Yeah, there's probably a couple.
Maybe she should yeah
Yeah.
and like think like what if she like yes and thank goodness.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I think I don't think that I think that would cause like a outburst from both her
Mm,
fans and all of the public.
yeah, probably would.
Yeah.
But just what if?
So,
But
yeah.
imagine.
Yeah.
Imagine a
Okay.
world like that. Good song. That's a good
Yes.
one. Okay, sorry, Drew.
Yeah.
Um, so I want to do something different. We haven't really done an album where there's been like a deluxe, really, I don't think. Where we've been covering the deluxe version. So I kind of wanted to do something a little different for the top three and me. So basically we're gonna do the same thing, but for the
So it's
deluxe,
different, but the same.
So it's different,
yeah,
but we're doing the
so
same thing.
So the top three and the me will be from like the standard version. But I just like if you wanted to throw in like your favorite deluxe track from the new set of songs, we won't include those in the top three just because we've only had them for a couple of days. And we've had the rest of the album for a year plus. So I let's just do the top three and me from the standard tracks and then just your favorite deluxe track.
Cool.
Also, if you're new to the pod, the me is what our least favorite track is, inspired by the Taylor Swift song.
Which is the worst song of all time.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
And
Drew, how
Okay.
Holy
are we gonna
Trinity,
do it?
well, and Holy Trinity, everyone knows. Holy Trinities are three faves, and that's inspired by, Father, Son, Holy Spirit. That
The religion thing.
the religion, the Catholicism of it all. Happy Lent.
Right.
So, Drew, how do you
Okay,
want to do it?
perfect. Yeah, so let's do the top three and then just say your favorite deluxe track. Like let's just go around and do that. And then well, actually let's do the me first and then do that. So Maria went first, right? Yeah, Maria.
Yeah. Okay. So my least favorite track, it's just hard because like I feel like it's the one I enjoy the least, but I so recognize its importance to the album and especially its importance as like the closer to the standard edition, but mine's gonna be Ordinary Things. I personally can't really get behind um the chorus and like how she pronounces ordinary. Because she kind of does like the contraction to kind of condense the word. So to me, it just sounds like she's saying ornery, ornery things. And like once I like really started thinking about that, I'm just like, man, that really ruins the song for me. So that's my me. But I mean, yeah, like I said, like I definitely think it's conceptually a great closer, but yeah, I just think I yeah, that's my reason. So that's my least favorite.
Okay.
I love the Nona's part of that song.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
yes, lovely.
I
Yeah.
think it's so
Don't go to
sweet.
bed without kissing goodnight.
And I love what you said, Drew, about it connecting, like she's answering the question that she asked.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, and also being like, what is she, how does Nona say it? Nona's like,
It's
and
like,
if
and if
you,
you don't kiss before you go to,
oh, and if you can't, and if you don't feel comfortable doing it, you're in the wrong place. Get
yeah,
out.
get out. And then
Get
Ariana
out.
laughs. Oh,
Yeah. I think is very charming. I think it's very
Oh,
charming.
yes.
yeah.
I definitely agree. I
I
agree.
can't believe
I
Maria
the
just said she
Nona
hates her grandma.
Oh
the
my God.
Nona parts in I I love the Nona part in Ordinary Things, but I think the best Nona ever on an Ariana song is the Bloodline one.
Yeah, that's funny.
The and I can't find something to satisfy me.
She has a lot of good ones because she also has that gay friend who talks on um
Yes,
in
the
my
I'm
head.
coming over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is I it's good. It's like I'm coming, I love you. It,
Yeah, it's like I'm 2 blocks away, I'm coming
right?
over.
Coming over. Yeah. God, I love that
Oh,
song.
I love a voice memo.
I think that if used effectively, they can be really good, and I think she uses them very
Yeah.
effectively. Sometimes I find them distracting, but I like the way she uses them.
Yeah.
Okay, my me is I hate this song. And I've always hated it. I fucking hate Yes and. I don't like it at all. I don't like how it sounds. I don't really like the house sound on her. I'm kind of just over that like as a trend as well, and I kind of think it's like a little. I kind of think it's a little mean. And I know what you were saying, Drew, about like you understand why she was defensive, blah blah blah. I just like the whose dick I ride thing. I just don't. I get what you mean, Miss Girl, but I just don't enjoy it and I don't like it. So that's mine. Mine.
Slay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Work.
Work. So my knee is kind of a different direction here. Mine is, and I was having a hard time because I really like this album. Mine is I Wish I Hated You.
Oh.
And the reason that I think that that is my me is because I had to do a song sort of for this, and I think the way it comes um in the track listing, I think it kind of presents itself as the one to me that's less essential as the other ones. I think it kind of has like I think I got what she was serving in this in other songs.
That's fair.
And I didn't need like a slower song to explain that as much. But I don't hate it. I don't wish I hated the song. Um, so yeah, that's my me.
Nice.
Yes. Okay, let's go back around.
Okay. All right. So
Holy
my
Trinity and Deluxe, yes. And
yeah, yes, yes, and deluxe. Okay, so my number three is Supernatural. Really great, really lovely. So satisfying to listen to. Again, because like I feel
yes.
like this is just another moment where the like vocal stacking is just like so feels so good in your ears when you listen to it. So yeah, that song's really great. My number two is Imperfect for You. I love like the minor melodies that are kind of like sprinkled throughout this one. It just like makes it really compelling. I wasn't expecting this song to sound this way. And yeah, I just ended up really liking it. So number two, Imperfect for You. And then for me, number one is The Boy Is Mine.
We Can't Be Friends isn't even in your top three. That's crazy. You're the recording
That's
academy.
that's correct for me. I mean, I think it's great, but
You
I
love The Boy Is Mine.
it's really good. I
It's
mean,
really good.
it's so good. The way that the chorus, or the pre-chorus slows down before, like it's
It
just
took me
so
some time to
good.
get into that. But honestly, like you really liking it was like, okay, someone's sipping the tea. Like I need to like get into this more. Because
Hmm.
you immediately like, grabbed onto that one when you
Yes.
listened. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah, I mean, I just yeah, I feel like there aren't a lot of pop songs that like are still kind of upbeat but have that kind of like I don't know, that like
Yeah.
syncopation to it.
It
Like
has a
I just thought it was cool.
swagger. That song has a swagger
Yes,
to it.
very much so.
Well, I also like how she that and in True Story, it's kind of like she talked about she's kind of putting on a persona that like she feels like the media is kind of portraying her as in like both True Story and The Boy's Mind is like being like really aggressive with like men and like that sort of thing. Obviously like the homeworking of it all and so I guess I wasn't as drawn to it because I want the like the songwriting. Like I want not the songwriting. I want like
Like the
the
real
tea, I
Ari.
guess. Yeah, I want the lore more. Um,
You love
but
lore.
no, I really like Boys Mine.
Yeah, so that's my
Yeah.
number one.
What's your favorite
All right.
deluxe
Slay.
girl?
Oh,
Yeah.
right. My favorite deluxe by far is Dandelion.
Okay.
Yeah, I really like the trumpet intro that then
Yup.
is like the loop
I
throughout.
knew you would like that fucking horn. The second I listened
Yep.
to it, I was like, Maria's gonna like this one.
Oh yeah. And also side note, but in the movie, well not I mean in the short film, the trumpet player is like featured for a moment like when the song starts to play,
Yes.
and I got taken out so hard because he's wearing an Apple Watch. I'm like, girl, we couldn't take off the Apple Watch for the five
Oh, girl,
seconds
I
that
didn't
you're in
even
the short film.
notice.
I'm like, just take it off. Like,
I wonder if it was product placement. Like, I wonder if
suppose.
It could have been. I didn't think about that. I loved the outfit she was wearing. Did you
When
like
it's which one? Which one?
it's the one I think it's the second memory because the short
Oh
film does four
yes.
memories and the second one she's
Yes.
like mainly performing at a mic.
Yes, I
That
thought that
out
album
she was
or
wearing
the
this
outfit.
amazing outfit
Lovely.
that was kind of an ode to like almost like positions because she has the darker hair again.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
it was really good. I was
Yeah.
like the whole time I was like, oh my God, I love what she's wearing.
Yes. No, it was super cute. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's my favorite on the deluxe.
yeah.
Cool.
Perfect. Okay, Levi.
well, here we are. Um, okay. I'm so torn between I haven't I'm really torn between my two and my three. I mean, I'm not my three and my four. Oh my God, this is so hard. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Okay, I do know what I'm gonna do. My number three is intro End of the World. I love it. I think it's perfect. And I didn't need the extended version on the deluxe because I think it's an example of like less is more. I think it's perfect. I love the way it sets up the story. I think her voice sounds so good. Like on the when the if like the moon don't like that part, I think she sounds so good on it. I also really like I remember when I listened to this album for the first time, I was so gagged that she starts it with "How can I tell if I'm in the right relationship?" Oh, that also, this is a complete side note. We just haven't talked about this yet. And this song isn't in my top three. We just need to talk about how crazy it is on Don't Want to Break Up Again that she calls her like years long marriage a situationship. Can we talk about that? Because
Yeah.
I think it's pretty
Yeah.
crazy. I wonder if she knows what that word means or if like I don't know what's happening there.
Well, I definitely think she knows what I was. I mean, it's gag. I think she puts it in there as the gag.
Is it
I
like
think
do you think it's
she.
like shade?
Well, I don't think it's shade. I think it's like this. Like it's not a marriage anymore. Like this is a situationship. Like this. There's no love involved in this because like
Mm,
obviously the difference between a marriage and a situationship is like
a
commitment and
lot.
like
Yeah.
love and
Love.
I think because obviously that song comes from like feeling like they were already broken up and doesn't
Yeah,
want to like
hurt.
yeah. So I
I
that's
just
how
think
I
it's
perceived it, but it is gaggy for sure.
it's just so crazy. Like I can tell you
Yeah.
exactly where I was the first time I heard it. I was walking to the gym. I was on Broadway. I was probably on Broadway in Cornelia, Chicago. You can visit it. And I literally think I was like, oh my God, like I can't believe she just said that. Um,
Yeah.
and sorry, I was just looking at the track list and I saw that song and I was like, I can't believe we haven't
It
talked about
also like sounds satisfying in the chorus
it. It
of
does.
it.
It fits the melody. It
Yeah.
totally does. It's just really crazy. My number two is title track Eternal Sunshine. I think it is so beautiful. I think it's so stunning. Again, that's another song that has a gaggy moment of do you think of me when you're in her? Or I hope she feels nice when you're something about him being inside someone else, which is also
Hope she feels all right when you're
right
in
when
her.
you're in her. Again, I think I can also tell you where I was when I heard that for the first time. I was walking up the steps to the gym because I was on my way, and I think I was walking up the steps to the gym. I actually vividly, I remember that, and the sun was shining. Um, it's that's also crazy, but I just think that melody, that chorus melody, is so good, and I think that like the way that it's not like a drop, but like the chorus doesn't explode. It kind of like just goes into a different direction, and like there's this like kind of like I don't like flowing water is how I feel about the production in the back of her voice. And I think it's very complimentary. I just think it's a really strong title track. I love a good title track. And then my number one, if you haven't been able to guess yet, is We Can't Be Friends. That's just it's career highlight to me. Like I think it is top five Ariana Grande song, if not top three. It is so good. It's like insane. I want her to make an entire album like that. I want her like Robin T. Reheat those nachos. Cause it's so good. She sounds so, and I don't really feel like she's ever done that before. Like even in like her like straightforward pop albums, I don't think she's really sounded like that. Like My Everything, there's not a song that sounds like that. There's not really a song that sounds like that, I think, on like Dangerous Woman. I think those songs are a lot heavier. There's this like light Swedish dance floor bittersweet perfectness of that song. It's so good. I love that song. And I
Yeah,
also
it's so
just
good.
I think it is so complex actually thematically because I always interpret that song. Drew and I had a conversation about this once. The way that I interpret that song to be about like her and the public and like her and the media because I think you can absolutely interpret that as like her relationship with like another person, whether that be like the ex-husband, whatever. But for me, the second I heard that song, I was like, oh my God, like I think she's talking about like the way that the people perceive her. And that's that like complex, complicated, messy, like bittersweet, conflicting emotion thing that I just find so compelling. Like you cling to your papers and pen, wait until you like me again, wait for your love. Like to me, that's like about her singing until like her fans and the general public like her again, and that like they don't understand her, but she like needs her love, even though needs their love, even though like she doesn't really want it, and like it's not good for her to be friends with them, but like she needs it anyways. I just find it so compelling.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that song. And then my favorite deluxe song is Hampstead. Um, I think I maybe already said that. Sorry.
Yeah, you
Um,
no, you said you like in your
oh,
initial
and
thing, you
Past
said
Life.
you liked a couple. Yeah.
Yeah. I also like Twilight Zone. I've seen a lot of people talk about that song. I think that song's really fun. But yeah, Hampstead to me is the standout for sure. Um, I just think it's really, really good. I think it's a really good song. Good song.
Well,
Stamp of
there you
approval.
go.
Okay.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay, so I was having a hard time coming up with my top three because I really like it. I I did a song sorter and the results were this. I do have to preface though, so I this was an album that I listened to a lot when it first came out, and then I took a break from it, and then before this deluxe version came out, I listened to it a lot, and then with the deluxe version, I've been listening to it a lot too. So it's kind of shifted in my initial thoughts of it, to be honest. I've really come to enjoy it even more than I initially did. So um my number three in my holy trinity is actually Yes and. So I
Okay, Drew, can
really
I
love
say
this song.
something? My number four was Wish I Hated You. I was so close to putting that in my top three. So that's really funny.
Yep. Well, there you go.
Oh, I'm laughing.
Yeah. So I love Yes and. I don't know. I really love the beat of it. I love how she sounds in it. I especially like her vocals in the last chorus, I think are like huge vocal highlights. So yeah, I really
Drew,
enjoy
you
Yes
just did
and.
the meme. You just did the meme. I like the beats.
It's
Yep. And
cute.
I
I like
do
the beat.
I like the
yep.
beats.
No, yeah, I love Yes and. Um, yeah. So and then my number two is We Can't Be Friends. Obviously, like
Thank
the
God.
yeah, the amazingness that it is. Um, yeah. And then my number one is Supernatural. I think it's like a top five Ariana song for me. I think it's like a clear vocal highlight for her. Um, in that last chorus. Or I guess I think it's like I don't know if it'd be considered like the bridge because the bridge is like a chorus in that song, but yeah, the way that she like pops off at the end there is like insane. And that's like what I love the most about her. So yeah, and I love how this album, how like Supernatural is the song that you're like kind of when you go for an Ariana Grande album, you're kind of waiting for the her vocals to really like pop off. And I feel like that is the song that you're kind of like waiting in anticipation for. And the payoff that it gives is so insane. Like listening to the album front to back, just like, yeah, it transcends. So that's my number one. And then my favorite deluxe track um is Warm. I love Warm. It's another vocal highlight for me. And I love how she says, "Can you hold this space?" I'm obsessed with her saying that.
Yeah, that's cool.
And yeah, I just love the concept of it. Like, yeah, I it's I love when she's like happy
Well, that's
because
good.
I feel like that's something that she struggles with her. I mean, we talked about the fans being so awful and like obviously we can't be friends. I think Levi's interpretation of it is definitely what she wrote it about. Like I think it's so clear that like she's having a struggle with like her own fans being so horrible to her um
And she also has such a
along
history
with
of
the
like
public.
horrible things happening to her. I mean, she's had
Yeah.
like
So
my
I
God.
love yeah, it's so awesome that like she can write about being happy even like a horrible situation like this. So yeah. Okay. So
Tea.
should we get the utensils out?
They're
Yes.
out.
So now, also again, in case we have new listeners, this is where we'll give the album a score out of 10. And we each have our utensils. So we have Drew fork, Maria spoon, and Levi knife.
Which all stemmed from Drew sending the funniest text of all time once in the group chat, um, as a play on Pitchfork, but you gave a Drew Fork rating. I don't even know what the album was that you first
Yeah, I
gave your
don't know
Drew Fork
either.
stamp of approval on.
It might have been Cowboy Carter.
It that could have been where it came from, yeah.
That's when I first remember you saying it, but
I remember you talking about it for some reason with that Conan album. Found Heaven.
Oh, Found Heaven.
That's the first time I
It
remember
could
you
have that
talking
could have
about
been it
it.
too. I remember that. I
Because
don't
I don't
know.
think the Drew Fork score was super high
No,
on
it
Right.
Found
wasn't
Heaven.
Super Ache.
It wasn't no
Right.
super. That was best new music at Drew Fork.
Yeah. Um, okay, so I'll do my Drew Fork rating of Eternal
Yes.
Sunshine. Um, so I really like this. Um, I'm giving it a 9.4.
Oh.
9.4. Got it.
Okay. So for me, I definitely enjoy this. I don't think it's gonna be I mean, it's been a year. It hasn't been a mainstay for me. Ariana isn't my typical fare, if you will. But this is really great. And the times that I have listened to it all the way through, I've definitely enjoyed it. So I'm gonna give it a 7.8. Thank you.
Okay. Perfect. I think well, obviously I'm not as into it as Drew is. Drew, I'm not. Imagine the gag if I was like 10. That would that would be so
Yeah.
crazy.
And you said like, oh, there's parts where I get fully bored.
Bored. I'm like, perfect album.
10.
Uh, that would be so crazy. I kind of want to do it now, just for the
Just for
bit of
the
it.
drama, please.
But no, I'm all about truth, and that wouldn't be truthful. Um, yeah, I think I'm gonna be a little below Maria. Uh, it's hard though because it's like it's so well made, I think. It doesn't clock my gag in the way that like I want my music to clock my gag. But I don't know if that's obviously what she was. I am not the person that she's making music for, so that's hard. Um, and so it's this is the part of the scoring thing sometimes stresses me out because it's like there's just so many things to consider and like I know this doesn't really mean anything because this is just a podcast, but I sometimes feel like there's just so much pressure and I'm gonna get like arrested if I like give the inaccurate score. I'm giving it a 7.5. I think that's fair and I think that's good. And
Yes.
I just don't know. It's just so stressful to me. Do you guys get stressed out? I feel like I'm the only one who ever gets stressed.
I get stressed
Do
sometimes.
you get stressed? Do you get stressed ever,
I don't
Drew?
think Drew gets
I don't
stressed.
really get stressed, no.
I don't know what it is. I get so stressed about it.
Well, because I think when you don't know what to do, I think this is just what I do. Like I look at what I previously did, and if that doesn't even help me, like I look at my previous ratings for albums, and if that doesn't help me, I just go pure on vibes.
I guess I guess I just put pressure on myself. I don't know why I do that because this like we're not curing cancer. Like this is not
Right.
I don't know what we're doing here that
I
is
only
would
get I
inspire the
only get
pressure.
yeah. No, I only get a little bit stressed about it because I know that it's going to get brought up later. Like
Yeah,
Oh
whenever
it'll
yeah.
get used against you.
like it will get used against me later. So that's where my anxiety comes
What
from
have
with
ever
it.
been used against you? I don't really feel like which ones have ever been used against you. I know I
Well, all the
used the
Gaga ones she compares herself to.
well, that's self-inflicted though, Mama, by Katy Perry.
Well, that's not even what I was talking about.
Were you
So
talking about Teenage Dream?
Drew put some words in my mouth in that kind of way, but
Well, no, because in our episode when we did Chromatica, you were like, "What did I give Art Pop?" And then
well,
you were
yeah,
like, "Oh,
Drew,
wait,
that's not
wait."
what I'm saying though. I'm saying like you guys will mention my own scores in other conversations.
Oh,
Like my like I know like Super Ache is one that I think is a sore spot is the Super Ache
oh,
score. Just like, I mean, it's like if there's someone else's album that I'm like, maybe I was a little bit like middling on it, and then I'm like, well, I know it's gonna get brought up in a
Yeah.
future conversation.
yeah,
Like it's not that serious, but I mean,
It's not
yeah,
that
like
serious, but it also somehow is. You know what I mean?
exactly. And
right, right.
that's where the anxiety comes from. So
That's what no, remember if any of our new listeners want to go back to the archives, the Teenage Dream episode, that I was so stressed out. I mean, that was scary, really for me. I didn't know. I was so lucky that Maria was below me. I did not want to be the lowest score on Teenage Dream.
Mhm.
So so there's
Wow.
that.
Yeah.
Well, do
Well,
we feel Eternally Sunshine?
well, of course.
Brighter
Is
Do
your
days
mind
are ahead.
is your mind spotless?
Yep,
Yep.
totally.
Well, yes.
Crystal clear.
Come
Brighter
on,
days
Peaches.
are
Peach.
ahead.
Wait, yeah, okay. We didn't even talk about her name being Peaches.
It's crazy.
It's such a stripper name. I don't really get. I just think of a stripper when I think of Peaches.
I think it would have been a little bit different if it was like peach singular, but like it being peaches plural,
I mean, you're right. I think of Miss, yeah, the
like
internet
internet
personality.
personality peaches. I cannot believe she chose peaches.
Because
I'm
obviously it's
trying
a
to think
play
what
on
else she could have
Clementine.
chose.
Yeah, because it's
Well,
supposed to be derivative of Clementine from the
what would
movie.
your guys's be if it had to be a fruit? What would you pick?
Like apple, maybe? I don't know.
Okay, Gwyneth Paltrow daughter. That actually is fitting for you. You're a Gwyneth stan.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Maybe Mango. That would be fun. Imagine someone
ooh,
being named Mango.
that would be fun. Trying to think of something.
Kiwi.
Um, that did come to mind just
Or
now.
Cherry. Cherry is like an actual name.
That's a stripper name though, too.
Cherry Jones is not a stripper. Cherry Jones is a respected actress
Maybe
for the
like
stage and screen.
guava.
Yeah, like
Guava.
she's totally gonna name herself that in like a multi-million dollar budget music video.
Well, she named herself Peaches.
Girl, peaches.
Peaches is. It's also like I just wonder if anybody like showed her who Peaches was, or like if she knows who Peaches is. Because I personally wouldn't want to be named the same name as that person.
Y'all are hung up on the peaches of it all.
It's it.
I mean, it's crazy, but like
It's just a
Clementine, kind of a crazy name.
it's just a baffling choice, in my opinion. She could
Oh,
have done a different citrus.
I'm not saying Clementine is Miss Normal. Clementine is Miss Weird. She's Miss Different.
She could have, well, I don't know. I was trying
What?
to
I
think
mean,
of other.
I
A
think if I
different
were
centrist like lime.
directing it, I would probably just have had her do like Ari,
Yeah.
like her name. But
Sure. She could have done well she could have done like something like mandarin. There's different kinds of mandarin oranges, you know. There's options. There's option. I'm just surprised with peaches, but it's done.
Okay.
We don't have
So
to keep
I
talking about it.
well, but I just looked up fruits that can be used as names. Why was one of the first things that came up banana? Who the fuck is named Banana?
I'm going
like a last
bananas.
name, I've seen some people with the last name Banana, but
Really?
Really?
Also,
yeah.
what's a persimmon? Persimmon?
A persimmon is
What is
well, I know what
that?
it is, but I don't have
It's an
any of the tools in my toolbox to describe it to you.
that looks like a tomato.
Those are sweet.
Okay, well, visually, it's giving tomato. It's visually very tomato-esque. Oh, well, we just peach. I was about to say, oh, peach could have been the name. Fucking, it's so
Well,
stupid.
okay. Well, sound off in the comments what you think her name should have been instead of Peaches.
Oh, Honey Crisp.
Ooh,
I
But
love
that's
Honey
living
Crisp.
for
that's an
that.
adjective to the apple. Honeycrisp is not a fruit, is it?
What's the kind of apple?
It's a kind of apple.
It's the kind of apple. I love Honey Crisps. I'm probably gonna have one after the episode. Ah, I love them.
Ooh, that is so chic.
I'm
Yeah,
so in an apple
very.
era right now. I
I
love
had an apple
apples.
just before this.
What
Oh
kind of
my
apple do you
God.
like?
I had a gala.
Ooh, those are good. Do you want what I was obsessed with? I don't really like them that much anymore, but when I was a kid, I thought they just looked so chic. I loved the red ladies.
Pink lady.
Oh,
Pink
pink
ladies.
lady. Wait, what did I say? Red
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 lady.
lady.
lady. Lady in red.
Lady in
Like,
red.
like a poem said
I
by
see
the
what you're
lady in
doing.
red. Well, oops.
Oops. She goes with imagine she does the Apple thing and then her character is called Granny Smith.
That's what she could have been named at the end, because isn't she an old lady at the end of the movie?
So her name's Smith. Her first name is Smith, and then at the end she's Granny Smith.
She's Granny.
Oh my
Peaches
God.
Smith.
Girl.
Granny Peaches.
Granny Peaches.
All right.
Y'all in the peaches, girl.
We're driving Drew crazy.
Oh my God. All right.
Okay. Who's next?
Well,
Who?
oh yeah, we got to say that. So, it's my album next week. We are going to be doing kind of inspired by Drew a little bit, because Drew finally did one of his fave artists after not having done her yet. I'm kind of following up. Obviously, we've done my two faves multiple times, Miss Tay and Miss Madonna, but we're going in a different realm, because we're going to be doing Dance Fever by Florence and the Machine, which is it's my
Yay.
favorite band, one of my favorite
Yay.
artists. Their most recent album, and yeah, I'm gonna be really excited to talk about. Very different vibe.
Yay, I'm super excited.
Yeah, Maria's never listened.
Yeah, I've never listened to a full Florence project before. So
Chop Ho, Florence the Chop Ho.
Florence and the Kia Machine.
That
Kia and the Florence Machine.
Oh my God.
Oh,
Florence
well,
and the Asylum.
girl, I gotta go wait for your love. I don't know about y'all, but that's
I
what I
gotta go,
gotta
yes,
do.
and
Uh,
Oh.
Improv? Are you going to Second City?
I am.
Well, I'm gonna go tell a true story
About all the lies.
about all the
Rotten.
lies. Thanks.
I feel like you say that so often about Maria's.
Yeah, mine always suck because I go last and you guys take the good ones.
Remember when you yelled at
This
Drew
was
because
the
he
one
did
where I
like
said
three?
all of the names, and she goes, "Stop talking."
Yeah.
Shut up.
Like I interrupted every time she was about to say a word. It
What album was that? That was
was a
so
Madonna
funny.
one. I think it was
Was it
I think it was
Erotica?
erotica.
erotica, yeah. So new listeners, apparently all the new listeners for this episode.
Yeah, all the thousands of new listeners that we have.
Hashtag Sky Fits Heaven Friday.
Hashtag Skyfit7 Friday.
Perfect.
Okay, Pop
All
Girlies.
right. Bye, Shanti.
Bye.